Hello and welcome to the Plot Twist Podcast, episode 15, I believe. My name is Catherine, and I'm coming to you from Berlin, Germany, which is where I grew up and where I now live with my husband and our 3 kids. This is a slow fashion podcast focusing primarily on knitting. You can find me on Instagram as Katharina Knits, on Ravelry as Frau Christ, which I'm going to link below. You can also, and please do, join our Ravelry group for the Plot Twist podcast. And you can find me, you can send me an email if there is something that needs to be emailed to hello@plottwistyarns.com. There you go. So all of those places and links and all the information, everything that I'm going to talk about are going to be just right down there in the description box waiting for you as my show notes. So click on the arrow and then a whole menu will open up underneath and you will find everything there. Okay, so hi, how have you been? It's been 2 weeks since I last sat down to talk to you. So yeah, it's about time. I kept wondering over those 2 weeks what I would be able to show you because I've been, spending some time spinning, which kind of eats a lot of time, but doesn't produce much in the sense of this, produce much material that you're going to be able to show off. And I've been working monogamously, except for 5 minutes here and there, on my big shawl project that I'm going to show you. And for a while, I felt like it looked like I didn't make a lot of progress. But I've been working monogamously on it and surprised, and you do make progress. I'm sorry if there's going to be a lot of interruptions today in terms of editing, so there might be a lot of cuts because I am sort of struggling with a raspy voice and with a cough. And so I might have to pause and cough and then be back on. So I'm sorry, but this is just where we're at. So we're still dealing with colds and stuff. And I'm not going to go into that because if you're a returning viewer, you will know the entire, history of my, of all of our illnesses over the last months. And I'm not going to bore you with it, but okay. So, I'm first going to talk about what I'm wearing, and then I'm going to dive into my, hold on, I wanted to say works in progress, but I have a finished object for you. Yes, that still does happen, because for the last few episodes, I've just been casting on like a crazy person, and I mean, at the same time, I've been restraining myself because there are so many projects caked up and ready to go, waiting to be cast on, and I haven't gone to that place because I have some big and potentially overwhelming projects on the needles, so that I thought, like, if I don't give myself the chance to put a dent in them, they are going to be overwhelming. So yeah, I've been good girl and not cast on all the things, even though you might think I'm casting on all the things. Sometimes that's life. And by the way, there is nothing wrong with casting on like a crazy person. If you do not ever restrain yourselves, that's fine too. Don't ever, put artificial boundaries on your creativity unless you think they help you navigate. If you feel fine with 30 projects on the go, or 50, or however many, then there is no need to pause. Just because people seem to be apologizing for the amount of works in progress that they have. As a side note. I wanted to talk about my sweater. Oh man. It's a Monday morning, and I mean, you get what you get. I'm sorry. So this is obviously my Zweig sweater. It's a design by Caitlin Hunter. I knit this. I finished this during my last pregnancy, so that would have been 2020. Is that right? Yeah, that is right. And this, I think I finished this in the summer of 2020, but I knit the majority of the sweater in 2019 for sure. No later than that. So, and then it has been just sort of lying on the needles, hibernating, for God knows what reason. And then I just finished the sleeves and was done. And I want to say I put it on, but obviously I couldn't, you know, because I was way too pregnant to put on a regular size sweater. And hold on. And you see, it doesn't have that much positive ease. Well, you probably won't see really, but it's not an oversized sweater situation at all. See, so it's about well, 1 or 2 centimeters of positive ease, or even 0 ease, I would say. So, anyways, I've talked about the sweater before, but in case you haven't been around for a while, I'm just going to quickly repeat. The green yarn is Retrosaria Pomar Mondim, and I don't know the color, but I'm linking the page for that project down below. This is Hedgehog Fibers. Oh man, what's the colorway? Dust? I want to say dust, but that doesn't seem right. Then again, it somehow does. I don't know. Again, it will be on that Ravelry page, I'm pretty sure. This is their the sock base. Well, the Hedgehog Fibers sock yarn. I think pink and green are always such a good match, so I went with those. I still think these colors are just really beautiful together. This is a non-superwash yarn, and this isn't, but that didn't that did not create a hiccup. So you can see that up here there are these little bumps. See, I lean closer. You really can tell that this is my shoulder, and then all of a sudden there's a little bump up here where there is no need for it. It could lie down, but it's sort of, see it, do you see that? I mean, it's gotten better with wear, but it was so visible that and it still sometimes is, that I'm thinking I might take in that fabric a little bit, sort of like this, and, you know, knit a little seam on the inside, or sew a little seam on the inside with that same yarn so it won't show. I mean, it will obviously show that there is a little seam up here, but if I put it right in the middle, it might seem intentional, because see, this isn't ideal. Then again, who cares? But I kind of do care. Well, but I keep forgetting about it, so maybe it isn't that bad. I don't know, but it does bother me a little bit. It's a bit of a hunchback here. I don't know. Anyway, so that's the only hiccup. And in an earlier episode, I asked you if anyone else ran into this problem with this design, and because it didn't seem to me like anyone did. Yeah, and I think I have figured out what the problem was. Sometimes I do this because the non-superwash will sneak up my neck and it will bother me. That's even too big of a word. It's not an itchy yarn at all, but I'll sometimes just do that. Probably it's a habit. And I realized that there is one strand that isn't as flexible, so I can pull here, but there's something holding me back right there. You can really tell, maybe you can. It's one sort of one round of floats that is just too tight, and it doesn't show on the outside. That's the weird thing. So well, you can't see now, but the the color work doesn't look weird. It's not puckered or anything, but it does prevent me from pulling any further than this, even though even here I can pull it further, and down here, I mean lace obviously, but here in the color work section, and I did not notice that in the beginning. I could have obviously ripped back, but because you cast on up here and then knit your way down, well, it is what it is. And I think that's what's preventing this little color work section from stretching a bit more, which sort of tapers in this portion right here. So that might be the problem. There's nothing I can do about this now. So the only option is to really take in the extra fabric on top and so on the shoulders, on the neck portion here. And I think this is what I'm going to do. So if you're one of those people who has watched that episode where I chatted about this problem, there you go. This is the answer to the problem, I think. Because someone commented, it looks like I used a different size needle, but I didn't. Yeah, it was a bit of a head scratcher. Well, almost spilled my tea onto my pants. It was a bit of a head scratcher until I did this. And then I was like, oh God, hold on a second. Because I've only started wearing the sweater. I haven't worn it over the years. I've started wearing it this year though, or maybe it was last year. Oh, it was last year. It doesn't matter. Anyway, that's the story of that sweater. Other than that, I did not have any problems with the pattern at all. I enjoyed the X pattern that you do here. I did not feel like it slowed me down terribly, and I went for a very long what's this, cuff that now I always fold over, but I like the option. Hold on, what's my watch doing? I like the option of it going down further. For when it's really cold or under the jacket, I'll fold it, like I'll unfold it and then slid into my jacket. Because that gives me extra windproof. That's the word, right? when that sweater sort of just sticks out to the front of my armhole. Anyway, so that's the story of that sweater. And now, hold on. Now I'm going to take a sip to rest my voice. I'm drinking my usual black tea so it's a German sort of tea mix that you drink with a little bit of sugar, which I usually don't do anymore. But today I added a little bit of sugar, but it doesn't come until the very end because you don't stir. And I love black tea. I could drink it all day long, except I can't because it gives me a stomach ache and it makes me shake because I have zero, or not zero, but a very, very abnormally low tolerance to caffeine. Really. And yeah, 2 cups, that's it for me. And that's cup number 2. Anyway, you're not interested in that. I have a finished object to show you because, guys, Easter is coming up and I wanted a little handmade gift for my daughter for her Easter basket because the boys, so I have 2 boys who are ages 5 and 7. So they get to get a few more sweets for Easter, and it's a little easier to get them something, just a tiny Easter gift. And they're getting books this year where the kids can be the detective. So it's little detective stories and then pictures with a whole lot going on and then on them, and then they can solve the puzzle. So they can solve the detective puzzle, sort of, because I enjoy that. And yeah, and then I thought, okay, so what can I get my daughter? Because I want for her to get something, but she's not getting a whole lot of chocolate or anything because she's only 2 years old. And so I thought, well, she'll get a handful of cookies like here and there, and then she loves eating eggs, so that's going to be like her holiday. And I wanted for her to get a little gift, and so I made her a little buddy. Oh, and we're twinning because he's also pink and green because it's one of my favorite combinations of all times. Isn't he so cute? I made her a little buddy because also my thought was and so the back is just plain and that's him up front. Over the next months, she will start kindergarten. So she is now in daycare, and then she will graduate to kindergarten and join the same kindergarten that my middle son is in. And I thought she might need a little buddy that she wants to take with her. Isn't he so cute? Oh man, I think he's just so funny. I think he's hilarious. And that, well, that's obviously, hold on, his one cheek is slightly bigger than the other, so I'm gonna have to try and fix this. What did I want to say? So this is a crochet project. I used Anna and Clara's cotton yarn from Søstrene Grene, whatever the shop is called. It's the same yarn that I'm using for my dishcloths when I make them. And I found this green color, which I think is just really beautiful. Just, I don't know, a week or two ago. And I thought, oh, this is going to go perfect with the colors that I already have. So, because I always pick two and then I marl my dishcloths, right? And so I picked this for this little buddy, and then with the rest, I'm going to make dishcloths. This, oh, I don't know the hook size that I used. I think it was a 2.5 millimeter. It was, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a 2.5 millimeter. So relatively small, so as to give me a tight gauge so that the filling wouldn't poke through. And I did not use polyester filling, but what I do is I collect from all of my knitting or crochet or whatever project, I collect the ends that I weave in and snip off. Those snipped off bits and pieces, even these teeny tiny bits, I keep them in a jar. And when I make one of these and I need filling, that's what I use, because I don't want the polyester filling. It's not, well, it's not healthy, and I don't like it. Also, it's got a way of poking through, of those little strands just kind of coming out, which I don't like. But also, I really don't like it, and I don't think it's good to have that, right next to your face. I don't know. I don't like it at all. Used to use it for some stuffies way back when, until I thought, hold on, those ends that I snip off from weaving in, I can just take those, and you collect so many ends over a year, I can make way more stuffies and be good to go. Yeah, and what did I want to say? The pattern, I think this is called Pocket Bear. This pattern, Pocket Bear. Oh, it's a little wonky, but it doesn't matter. And Jillian is the designer of Spin a Yarn, or Spin and Yarn? No, Spin a Yarn, I think is what she's called. I'll link her down below for sure with that pattern and her Instagram page if I remember to do that. Or she has a web page, and all of her patterns are free on that page. I don't know, maybe she also sells some, but she has a whole selection, like a huge selection of crochet, and maybe also some might also be knitting, but a whole big wide selection of crochet animals like this one, where you knit a front and back and then you crochet around them. So it's really easy peasy, right? This is not hard to do. And also little hangers for Christmas, little ornaments, and all sorts of things. So really fun. I have the problem that crocheting troubles my neck ridiculously much. Like after making the front panel, I had a headache for a day. And so I would love to make more of those. She has like little ghost stuffies that are about this size and the same style, where you just crochet around two pieces and stuff them, that I wanted to make for my boys. And also she has dinosaurs that I wanted to make, but I don't know if it's a good idea for me. So I'm going to have to be really, really slow when I make something like this. And I'm not good with that. I'm not good with taking my sweet time on a tiny project, because this is something I want to finish in a day or two. And it's so doable. And if I then have to slow down, it's just probably not going to happen. And so for me, and that is, I don't know. I've thought about changing the way that I crochet, because I hold my hook like a knife. Some people hold it like a pencil. Maybe that could help, but I find the motion so, I don't know, weird in the sense that I'm really not used to it at all, and I cannot imagine getting used to it. But then again, that is always the case when you learn something new, isn't it? So I remember when at age 13, my grandmother taught me how to knit with so I'm knitting continental, but with my yarn in the right hand instead of the left, and still not do the throwing, but you can just flick your finger and it's a tiny motion. It's really the same as when you hold your yarn in your left hand. And you don't let go, but you keep it in your hand and you just flick your finger, and you can knit really fast. But I had to learn how to switch hands and for holding the yarn. And I remember, oh my God, I remember how it freaked me out, and it was so hard to do. So maybe I should invest 2 hours in trying to learn how to crochet with the hook held as a pencil and not as a knife. But yeah, I don't know. But because maybe that could do the trick. I heard another podcaster saying that gave her shoulders a bit of a break. So it's worth a try. Because I'd like to crochet more, but it's always a problem for me. But anyway, so that's my finished object. So my one big work in progress is obviously my half and half triangles wrap. So if you've been here last week, you've seen it, or a little bit. Hold on. Well, I'm managing a yarn mess right here. At least I'm trying to. You will have also seen it on my Instagram, but if you're not there, I'm going to show you. This is it. And I've since I last showed it anywhere, I've added the contrasting color. And I'm just going to show you, and then after I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. Or I'm trying to show you, because this is big. Hold on. How can I best get this across? So there you go. This is my contrasting color. Obviously, I'm just going to pull this thing up so you can see it in all its glory, because it's too big for the screen. There you go. I think it all fit on the screen. I'm going to show it to you scrunched up. So that's where I cast on, and see how I went with the large size. Now you get an idea of the size of this thing. This is also the color that I bound off with, even if it meant having to break into another skein for those, I don't know, 25 stitches. Yeah, but I liked the symmetry of it. I liked this little pop to hold all those other colors together. So what can I say? I mean, I can talk you through the colors real quick. Oh man, they make me so happy. So for the most part, this is knit out of Rama Finul, so Norwegian yarn. I'm going to show you right here. Hold on. There you go. And I'm not now going to list all the colorways, but I wanted to do that for my, not Instagram page, for my Ravelry. So I'm going to have to do that at some point today. And then my page will be updated so that you can, you know, reference the colorway, names, numbers, you know, if you're interested in a certain color. You know what I wanted to say with that, don't you? It all started off with this color, which is this raspberry color that I just really fell in love with, and I sort of grabbed colors to match this from there. Then I went into this very dark green. I don't know if you can see. I think you can. It's a very dark green that I seriously consider making into a garment. Now it looks a little black, but hopefully on your screen you can see the beautiful bluish greenness of it. Then, well, a purple. Then this gorgeous turquoise or teal, or however you want to call it. Then there is this gray, but it's a purple gray. So I love that. It's one of my favorite colors. A good purple gray. Can't beat that. A light pink, because I wanted something lighter. I didn't want for it to be too moody. I wanted for there to be a light stripe and to break up the jewel toniness of it all, only to dive right back in. And this is now a Jamieson and Smith colorway, this one right here. This one right here, so this one. Don't ask me which one. Again, I'll include it on the page. I used almost an entire ball of Jamieson and Smith, which is only 25 grams. So this is about 25 grams at this stage. So this was a 50-gram ball. And so 5 feet, 5, 6. And the 7th stripe is a 25-gram ball. And then, so that was the exact middle of the shawl. That makes sense. Then I went back to my Rama Finul with a very bright pop of color. Then the purple. Then I dug out another Jamieson and Smith leftover, again, sort of a tealy turquoisey situation, very, very close in tone to the other, but this is heathered. See? You can tell a little bit. Then this is also Jamieson and Smith. So when I say Jamieson and Smith, I mean 2-ply jumper weight. Ooh, I'm losing stitches. And that was just scraps that I had from a mitten project. Then I repeated, this is the only colorway that I repeated, this purple gray. And then I went back to my original raspberry tone. And then oh man, this is a beast to manage. And I mean, you can tell the cord is not long, which was good for knitting I wanted to say wedges, but I mean the stripes essentially for knitting the first triangle. But now that I have to really maneuver the whole thing back and forth, it becomes a little overwhelming, and I'm considering putting in a longer cord. Plus, even though I screwed them on properly with the little thingy, probably because of my maneuvering of that much fabric and the twisting of the needles that goes along with it, they unscrew all the time. Not all the time, often enough so that I kind of check on them every row. So I'm nervous to that point. I'm using my Knit Pro Symphony needles, and the joints are coming loose every once in a while. Yeah, with that many stitches on your needles and short rows included, because those are hard to pick up, this is a bit of a worry. I mean, it's a bit of a worry. It's not a huge worry, but, it's a thought. So this is a free pattern. Again, you will probably know it because everybody seems to have knit it already 5 times over. I joined my contrasting color. So everything, this entire panel, so that the second triangle is all going to be this gray. This is also Ramafinil, and this is color number 404. So I have this tag right here. I'm very happy with the color, I have to say, because this is just such a neutral, so this goes with everything. So because this shawl is going to be folded over in half if you don't use it as a blanket, because it absolutely doubles as a blanket. And with this sort of very neutral gray, you can wear the shawl with everything. And then with this, all of this going on the other side, you have a much busier shawl, but it's not, for my wardrobe and my color palette, this is not a busy shawl. I mean, it's busy in the sense that many colors are incorporated, yeah, but it goes with everything that I own. There is not one item of clothing where I would be like, oh, this doesn't work together. So it works with everything that I have. I can really honestly and confidently say that. So it's not a busy piece for my things. But yeah, this is obviously more toned down, and I like how the gray both makes the colorfulness of this triangle stand out more, and also like tones it down more, because it just gives the eye an opportunity to rest, right? I am so happy with how this turned out. Look at it now. It's not even possible to put this on camera, but I'm very happy with how this turned out so far. And especially the stripes, because I was in the beginning, and I've talked about this not last week, but in the last video, how I thought in the beginning that it could work out with the stripes, and it could also look a little weird. And when I added in the first teal section, I thought, no, this is going to tie everything together. But then there were 9 more stripes to come, so it could still mess it up. I had a moment where I wasn't sure whether this stripe was a good idea, but that was way back up here, and I thought, no, there's just no way I'm ripping back. I'm leaving everything as it is, and I don't regret it. I think it's perfect like this. Like, this is the way I wanted it to be. So there you go. That's a beast. It's a schlanket for sure. I love it. I think it's such a fun project. I don't know if a half and half triangles wrap that is not striped, so that doesn't have that aspect of knitting stripes. So you want to get to the next stripe, and you get to knit with a different color, and you get to combine and play with color and so on. Whether that would hold my attention for that long, I have to say, because the rows are long. Then again, you could go for the smaller size, but what's the fun in that? I mean, if I knit a shawl, I want to knit a big shawl. So I don't know, because I'm a tall person, I need a big shawl. Yeah. And it was very smart of me, if I do say so myself, to knit the stripes first, because now I want to bind off and just plow through the monotonous portion with just one color, because now I see how it's all tying together, and I get to revisit every stripe. And it's, again, that it has that element a little bit, not entirely, but a little bit of stripe knitting. So I want to get to the next stripe, the next. And also, obviously now I'm not giving anything away, because this is not paid for, but free. Now I'm increasing, so I'm making the rows longer as I go, which gives me faster progress and the illusion of I got so much more done in such a short amount of time, right? But I have to say, this is a whole lot of knitting. 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 Have I said that there's a whole lot of knitting in there? This just takes forever. But I'm going to try and really work my way through here so that I don't cast on so much more just yet, but spend a few more evenings on that project, because yeah, I'm just going to be that much closer to binding off. So I don't want to schlep this around with me forever. I want to have this done, I want to say by the end of May. So I'm not in a rush. Maybe I'm going to have to, maybe I'm binding off in 2 weeks time. Who knows? But I don't want to schlep this into summer. I want this off my needles and ready to go for fall before summer rolls around, because this is nothing I want to weigh on the back of my mind, you know, as I knit other things. I want to use summer for finishing a whole lot of sweaters that I've cast on. So yeah, I have a question though. And please leave comments if you've struggled with that, or if you've an idea of, you know, what the answer to my question could be, because many people have knit this pattern, so maybe you do have an answer, and maybe it's not hard, but I just don't see it. But here's the thing. So the stripes are obviously knit in this direction, and I was under the impression that you do the same with this that you do with the same with this panel too. But it turns out and again, I'm not giving anything away. So you end up here. This is the last stitch. Then you knit all the way down, and I did German short rows. I did not go for wrap and turns because I find wrap and turns weird somehow. I never understand them. Also, I find German short rows neater. You knit your way up here to the tip, then you knit all the way across, resolving the German short rows. Then you knit all the way back up. And then you start working in this direction. So you knit like 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. So you make your rows longer and longer as you go, so as to create that second triangle. And it obviously doesn't matter the direction that you're working in, because you're going to create a perfect square, right? So that I do get. I'm going to show you, because you can see the direction of knitting changes, right? But I thought the second triangle was also going to be knit in that direction. And the thing is that there are both versions out there, but there's just one version in the pattern, I think. Maybe I didn't print out everything, but I think I did. And this is really something that took up a lot of my time figuring out what to do now. So if I follow the instructions as they're written, which I ended up doing, this is what I get. But I wanted to maintain the stripes going that way. I mean, not that it matters in the end. So I thought, okay, so before I mess this up now, I'm just going to go with the version that is clearly going to work. But I thought, if I end up up here on this tip, the pink, and then I knit my way all the way back down to the bottom corner, the cast on corner right here, I would start with the small just like now, I would start with the small, I want to say wedges, but with the tip of the triangle, and then I would end up with this very long row that corresponds to this cast on row. See? And the same is happening now for me, but just knitting sideways. And I thought if I knit it up from the bottom, it would also grow and grow and grow, and then I would have this entire edge as the correspondent to the cast on edge instead of the horizontal line on the side. So I don't quite understand how it happens that there are people who have both triangles going in the same direction, right? So that the garter ridges align instead of being inverted by a 90-degree angle. So would you have to just knit down one row, because the pattern says 2 rows of knitting, and then start doing this? But then you would be on a wrong side row. So that means you would make all of your short rows on the wrong side. So would that look weird? That's my question. Or doesn't it matter? So, if you've understood what I mean, and if you know, if you have a suggestion or know an answer, or if you've knit the thing and your ridges aligned, please let me know below, because I really struggled with that, and I watched many tutorials. Then I thought, okay, so maybe it matters like what sort of short row you use, but it doesn't. Then I looked on so many pictures on Instagram, and I thought, so some end up with all vertical lines, horizontal lines, and some people end up with one triangle going, you know, sideways. Why is that? Because this is really a head scratcher for me. I could not figure it out. And I don't know if some people just tweak the pattern, or if there's something going on here that right under my nose and I just don't see it, or what is this? Like, this is really weird to me. So if you have a clue and a suggestion, please leave it. It would be very much appreciated. Also, recommendations for like a video where this is explained, or anything at all that will help me solve this mystery, please do leave the information. I would very much appreciate it. Okay, and the only other project that I've worked on, really only over the last 2 days, and only because I didn't have that big project on me at the moment, is this one. And if you're a returning viewer, this may seem familiar to you. This is another shawl project, and yes, who am I? Because I'm usually not a shawl knitter, especially not multiple shawls, but here you go. And I'm not in the middle of, but at the beginning of a row, so that's not ideal. And there's a mess to manage. Okay, so I'm talking about this shawl. Now, because of the mid-rowness of this, you cannot really see, but this is the end. So maybe you can get an idea of what's on my needles. So that's the entire thing. I am knitting, this is what I call my alpaca shawl cast on here. And I'm knitting a triangular shawl that will have the rows go askew a little bit, so a little sideways, or, you know, at an angle. And I just started, so you can basically, yeah, well, my little stitch marker tells you how much I knit since we last spoke. So not a lot, but I started working the color changes every 2 garter ridges. So I'm now knitting 4 rows in one color instead of 2. And I lost my stitches, but that's no problem. Don't ever freak when your stitches drop, because it's just stitches. You can just pick them up. It's not the end of the world. And this is my alpaca shawl, and this is, I'm being so good, and I'm working through my stash. Oh, hold on. There's going to be crinkling. I apologize. So the light, I want to say the white color, but it's more of a cream color, is called Fair Alpaca Baby Alpaca DK Weight. So this is like an eco thing that I bought years ago, though, when my oldest son was a baby. So he's now 7, and I've knit something with that, but just on account of my own stupidness, ordered much too much, and now I've had these, I don't know, 300 grams or whatever lying around in my stash, and I finally said, okay, so enough already. I have to do something with that. And oh my goodness, is this the softest yarn I've ever touched in my life? And I'm not exaggerating. This is the squishiest bliss that you've ever encountered. This is so incredibly soft, and it's paired with that brown yarn, which is leftover from my Velacor Isaiah, and this is their Alpaca 2. a 50 gram ball, and I have one entire skein and a little left over. Like it might be 65 grams or something in that neighborhood. And this is a lace weight, so yeah, it sort of translates into a lace weight, but somehow it works out that when I hold it double, it is exactly the weight of that other yarn that's supposed to be DK, but then again, who cares? It's called the Isaya Eco line, so it's 100% undyed. And the color is E7S. And this is just, I don't know, this doesn't even have a color name. No, it does have. The white is NFA001. If you're interested. There is also a project page that I'm linking for the shawl. So I intend on going on in those 2x2 garter ridges until I run out of the brown yarn, and then I'll just continue with the white for, I don't know, like this much, for about 30 centimeters or whatever I think looks nice and is big enough, and then I'll bind off. And this will, again, so the bind off line will be at an angle, right? Okay, don't ask me for needle sizes for any of those projects. I think these are, what's it called? What is this called? Half and half triangle strap. This should be a 3.5 needle millimeter, so this would be US size 4. And these are, I think, oh no, I do have this thing. So this is Chargou Red Lace 3.75 millimeters, so US size 5. And who says I'm not prepared? There you go. Okay, now we can move on to spinning, because I have already indicated that I've spun a little bit. So what's the word? I finished. That's the word. I finished the braid that I was still in the process of spinning when we last spoke, and that's what it turned into. See, this is this is a German hand dyer. I don't know if this is plant colors or not, because it could be, but I don't remember. Shop's called Faserliebe, so that would be Fiber Love, and the fiber is Falkland Merino. So this was 100 grams. I think I managed to produce. Well, in many spots, it really is a fingering weight yarn, and that was always my goal. Then again, in some places, it is a bit fluffier. Let's say sport weight. I don't know. If you take the average, I don't know, but I'm very happy with that. Like, see, I think it turned out well, and it's only the fourth skein that I spun. I also like the colors, and it just so happened that the green often aligns, so this is a minty green, often got plied with the green, and the dark red often, or purple or whatever it is, often got plied with itself too. So that's kind of fun. Yeah. So that's one more finished object, I think you could say. By the way, I just took my last sugary sip of tea, put my cup back down. Well, now it's right here, but it was on my desk, and I put it on those. I thought I'm going to share the little coasters that I have. I made these years ago, and years ago in my old apartment, like still before I had kids. I made them in many colors. And also this set of blue and yellow. So now it sort of screams my Ukrainian coasters, but it used to be my Swedish coasters. These are just little stars or flowers. Very easy to make. And I'm showing them to you. Obviously this is crochet, because over the last weeks I have considered making more of them. But, well, there is the obvious crochet issue with my shoulders, and then there's just not enough hours in the day, but that was the thought that I had. Anyway, tangent. So I did a little bit more spinning, and the story of this yarn, because this is an absolute mystery yarn, and I'm sort of sorry it is. So I'm very glad that this mystery yarn kind of moved into my possession, but I'm also sorry that I don't know anything about it at all, because it's a joy to spin. It's a very different feeling from this other yarn. So the story of this yarn is, and I don't have enough. Oh God, it's so good to even touch it like this. Oh man, I wish you could touch it. It's amazing. See how it's also nice and fluffy. No, you probably don't see that. Anyway, I'm going to show it to you in a bit. But the story of this yarn is on an app called Nebenan.de, which is sort of the correspondent to neighborhood.com. I think that's what it was born out of, if you will. On that platform, I saw someone selling just wool, just like 2 bags full of wool. And I thought, okay, why not? I want to spin more. I want to knit with my hand spun. And I want a yarn. I want to try different sorts of wool. And I don't want to be precious about them, you know? I don't want to be like, oh no, this is a super special, like hand-dyed wool, whatever, that I'm just going to pull this braid out when I'm really good and when I know how to apply this and that way and whatnot. I want to just spin and use it, because for me, spinning is just such a down-to-earth, traditional, no fuss thing to do, that I don't want to create a lot of stress in that neighborhood. And I tend to do that. I tend to be too much of a perfectionist with everything that I touch. So I thought, I'm not going to even go there, because for me, this is just supposed to be fun. And so far I managed to not even think twice, about my spinning, to just do it because it's fun, and to trust the process, so that I'm just getting better and better. I get in the sense of that I get muscle memory, but not in the sense of I have to achieve the perfect skein, right? And I saw this, and last time I described it as a bit of a beigey color, and now maybe you know what I mean. It's a very sheepy color. It's obviously undyed. The lady did not know anything at all about this yarn, about the wool. So it was carded, but well, that's that, So I just thought, okay, I'm just going to start spinning with it because I really want to, and just have to do it, right? And it's such a different feel from the Falkland Merino that I just spun before, and before that, if you remember, the light pink skein that I spun. That was Rambouillet. I don't know how to pronounce that, but that sheet. That was very different to spin, but also really a delight. The Falkland Merino was it broke easily, much more easily than the other two. This is perfect because the hair is so long. The hairs in this are so long that yes, you can break them, but it doesn't break when you spin. It produces this beautiful halo, which I don't know if you see that. Hold on. Do you see that? I don't know if this color lends itself well, but it does produce a beautiful halo. It doesn't produce a string that is very, very even, or not. When I spin it, it doesn't. Hold on. See? So this is, well, I don't think you can really tell, but there are blobs in there, right? And then there is a section that is perfectly, not perfectly, but more sort of cohesive, coherent, whatever. You know what I mean. And well, this is due to, in part to the fact that I don't fuss about it, that I just go and spin. And also in part to the fact that this wool just behaves very differently, and I have to figure that out, because when I I keep treadling, is that the word, with my foot, and then I release the next bit of yarn from my fingers, and if there is a little bit of a blob in there, so if it's just not like 3 hairs that are going to be applied together, but just a little bit more, because it's hard to, with this wool, to separate it that evenly, it will not spin this little blob. It will not, the twist will not translate onto it immediately, but you have to be very patient with that. And I don't want to give too much twist on it in order to not make it too coarse, because I'm sort of worried that that will happen. And then that's how these little blobby bits come to be. So, but I'm not worried at all. And I have, I think I have enough wool. I'm pretty sure I have enough wool for a cardigan. I really want to make this into a cardigan, into a sturdy cardigan, and maybe add color work at the yoke, because I figured either I'm going to dye some of the yarn or to add in a different hand spun. We'll see, because I have a gray that I could add in. I'm going to worry about that when I get there, but for now, this is my, well, spin in progress. Okay. Then I did do a little mending, and unfortunately my one project that I wanted to show you is in here today because my daughter is wearing it. So a friend of mine, she gave me a pair of pants from her kids who no longer fit into it, but they're very close in age, the youngest and my youngest. And she said, if your daughter wants to wear it, keep it, or else give it to someone else. But the thing was that the idea why she wanted to give it to me was that it's an elastic in the top of the pants, right? That was that broke over time. It just, because they get all dried out or whatever, and then they tend to break. And she said, I don't know how to fix this. I would throw this away. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting a heart attack. And she said, yeah, well, don't worry. Don't get that heart attack, because I'm giving them to you. You can fix this. I know this would freak you out. And then you can give them to whoever wants them or keep them. And she gave me those pants, and I was sort of annoyed with how they're constructed, because it was very hard to change that elastic. And I don't know why the producers of that piece of clothing, and that was like eco cotton and blah, 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 why they would make that so hard to do that tiny little mend on, because an elastic is like the first thing that has to be replaced. Anyway, I managed. I did it. It's not invisible entirely, but it's also only visible on the inside, so nobody ever cares. Also, she's 2 years old. I mean, what are we even talking about? And it fits her perfectly. She loves those pants. She calls them her Yaya pants, because Yaya is her name for my friend, whose name is nothing like Yaya, but and yeah. And so she's running around in them currently, because she will request them specifically. And the only excuse she allows is they're dirty or wet. So yeah, today she's wearing them. So I can't show you, but it's only an elastic that's changed in a kid's pants. And then I mended socks for my son, and I'm including these not because they're a thing of beauty or because you can see much, but just to encourage you to mend those socks. And also they count for a lot of my mending time, because boy. So these are socks that are store-bought. I mended them here in this area. And so I just went, and the fabric is not gone, but it's very thin. So there would have been a hole sooner rather than later. And I didn't want for that to happen because then it stinks even more to mend it. So I did it now. Like I would darn it, but just not as tightly maybe. And then I don't know if you can all see it's thin here too. No, it isn't. It's just how the light falls on the sock. Anyway, so it's really the perfect color, but believe me, there is a patch here as well. And it's not hard to do at all. Just weave up and down through the fabric, and then you weave crisscross through what you've just woven, and that's the end of the mend. But it just takes a while. So I spent 2 evenings on this, not 2 entire evenings, but nonetheless, it takes a few moments. And the same on the other side. So you can see, maybe you can see up here, there's a previous mend, and then the same patch here and down there. And I forgot to snip off one end. There you go. I don't think you can see anything here, but this is also the entire heel down the middle. And then these socks are good to go into the sock drawer again. It's not the most fun job that there is, but it's a worthy job. Also, my kids like their socks, so they're happy when they can wear them again. And I don't know, it's stupid maybe, but I have this thing where I want to buy as few socks for them as I can while they grow. If I can make the socks that we have last for all 3 of them, I'm gonna do that. I don't know why. I have issues explaining why, but that's the deal. And yeah, like I said last time, I read that when you by mending something, a garment, prolong the life of a garment by only 9 months, and a little sock mend can do that. So that means if you buy new stuff 9 months later and thereby fewer things over the span of your life, you decrease the water footprint of that mended garment by 20 to 30% just with that one mend that makes it last 9 months longer, roughly, right? And that was very impressive to me. And I thought, see, so this is a worthy cause. This is a good thing to do. And it's also as not the most fun, mending a sock pair such as this, but afterwards you feel very self-sufficient and sort of happy about the item. So I can only encourage you to, mend whatever makes sense to still mend. Some things you don't have to spend your whole life on them, but many things are still worth your time and effort, and you will be rewarded, and you will teach your kids to just a certain mindset, and also a certain sort of relationship to their stuff, right? Okay, and then I can quickly talk to you about what I've been watching. So I continued watching Gilmore Girls. Like I said last time, they're always sort of, I don't know, I'll watch them for a half an hour or one episode before I go to bed when my husband has already gone to bed, because usually I'm up a little longer. And sometimes we'll watch them together. Also, it doesn't matter because I've seen the entire thing 500 times over. Last time I said I made a case for being Team Dean, and yes, I'm the only person in the world that is, but still. But now that I'm watching, I think it is season 5. Is that the season? That should be the season where Logan really, has a lot of screen time. And Dean is pretty much gone. With the question of like Jazz or Logan, I really see it again. Every time that I watch it again, I'm like, I would definitely be Team Logan if it wasn't for Dean. But Dean that's a different story. But just as sort of an addition to like last time. Other than that, I'm looking forward to watching new Ted Lasso season. Looking very much forward to that. But my husband and I wanted to watch that together, and then the evenings have been busy, and then there has been organizational stuff, a whole lot, so we haven't really gotten around to watching that with some time on our hands, because I don't like to pause in the middle of that one episode and then watch the rest on the next day or something like that with a show that I really anticipate. So we'll do that soon, I hope. I think. Yeah, and I've watched on Netflix No Strings Attached, which is a romantic comedy with Ashton Kutcher and Natalie Portman. And it's from 2011, so it's been a few minutes since that movie was out. But I didn't know it, and I watched it. I liked it a ridiculous amount. More than the movie deserves probably, but romantic comedies are really like my genre. You can get me with them because I don't want some super realistic, action or also, I don't know, the end of the world scenario, where in a movie, I don't want to be transported to that place. I don't particularly enjoy crime, in any genre. Usually, there are exceptions, but usually I'm not a science fiction person at all, so that doesn't do the trick for me. Like I'm not going to watch Star Wars or Star Trek or any of those shows. What I do like is things like Downton Abbey, or Bridgerton for that matter. And by the way, it's still like I thought that the third season had to have come out now, but apparently I'm mistaken. I thought March was the month, but well, again, that's a different story. But romantic comedies are easy to digest. There are very bad ones, but there are also good ones. Not a whole lot, but there are some really good ones out there, and they are easy for me. So they take me off my everyday worries. They transport me someplace else, somewhere that's happy, and yeah. So that's sort of a genre that I can really get behind most of the time. So I thought, why not watch that movie? And I liked it more than I should have probably, but I think it's a very fun movie. And yes, it's stupid, but it's also fun. And I just like Ashton Kutcher. I really do. I think he really is funny without being in your face funny. I just like him. I think he always has this, for lack of a better word now, vibe to him that I enjoy. And then I've felt inspired to re-listen to the first two podcast episodes with him on the Armchair Expert, because I really do enjoy the Armchair Expert. If you don't know it, it's a podcast by Dax Shepard. So I've listened to that from almost the very beginning, and it's so fun. It's really good too. He has amazing guests on it. Which I don't listen to all the episodes, but many, and I really enjoy it so much. And Ashton Kutcher has been the first guest that he had, or the second, because I think Kristen Bell was first or something like that. But so he was one of the very first ones, and then he returned again. And and I've listened to the first of those two. Now again, I mean I had, but now I listen to them again, and I just have to say, like, I think this is a person I really would like to meet, because I think he does so much good and important work. Like, he really finds causes that he gets super invested in, and these are very worthy causes. So I was very inspired and also a little impressed when I re-listened to those podcast episodes. And I just like Ashton Kutcher, period. Like, as an actor, as, I want to say, a person, like, I don't know him, but for his activism, let's put it like that. I like him for his activism, and I think he seems incredibly intelligent. So I don't know. I just like him. I just think he's very fun. Anyway, so that's what I watched. That's what I did. What I listened to. I also listened to a Harry Potter audiobook. Number 5. What's it called? The Order of the Phoenix. Right. I listened to that. I'm not all the way through. I'm maybe halfway through. I don't know, something like that. So that's always fun. I usually listen to Harry Potter in the fall, but now I'm switching it up. I'm being super wild and listening to Harry Potter in this, not in the spring, but when spring is just right around the corner. And yeah, so I think now you're all caught up with me. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, or for allowing me to hang out with you for a bit. For catching up and coming back, or checking out the channel in the first place. And if you've watched up until now, you might as well subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up, and leave a comment on that half and half triangles question if you have some experience in that department. Otherwise, I used to say that, and I haven't for a few episodes, if you have questions that you want answered in a sort of a Q&A thing, because I did answer some Q&As on my, I want to say Vlogmas, but it was one of the 4 days that I stuck with it. But I can always squeeze in another Q&A segment, or do a Q&A video. So if there are things I would like to know, just leave a comment down below and I will collect some questions. Meanwhile, join our Ravelry group, and yes, please do come back next time if you've enjoyed this episode. And if not, just move right along. There are so many knitting podcasters out there that are just so fun to watch. So yeah. Okay, guys. It's a rare thing that I say that, but I feel like I have nothing more to say. Okay, I'll be back before you know it, and I hope you have a lovely time knitting on your things. Let me know what you're knitting on if you feel like it, because this has been a fun experience for me over those last 2 weeks, knitting monogamously on a project, or even before that, because I started a little earlier. So now it might be in the neighborhood of 3 weeks. And the surprise is you do get more done, obviously. So now I'm rambling. I'm sorry. I'm catching up with you as soon as I can. And until then, happy knitting, happy making, happy whatever you're doing. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.